Now, for those of you who haven't joined us before, we're doing these virtual wine tastings each Thursday at 5 p.m. Well, Bicheno time, 8 a.m. London time. We've started from the southern end of the wine region in Marion Bay, down near Port Arthur, and this is week 6. We're working our way up the coast. Tonight we're stopped at Little Swanport, and we're going to check out Boomer Creek, and then we'll head up the coast and end up in St Helens. It's lovely having you get freighted. I hope all's well at your end.
So just in case somebody's here that hasn't met us, you've got Subi Mead there in the red jacket from in Bicheno, and Helen Bain here in on the Mornington Peninsula. So normally we're both at the farm shed in Bicheno, the wine centre that covers 22 of the vineyards on the east coast, from Brim Creek down south up into just outside St Helens in the north.
Yeah. Hi, Calstock. Lovely to see you. All right, well, let's get going. Boomer Creek is actually one of those old farms. We've talked about them a couple of times. We're going to talk about them a couple more times yet. It was settled in the 1800s. It's actually in Boomer Creek Road at Little Swanport. The property has a connection with the whaling history of the East Coast, and it also is the site where one of the original orchards were planted on the East Coast. It's a pretty diverse farm. Like most of the farms around these parts, they grow merino sheep for wool. They've also got Herefords, both classic and miniature Herefords, which they grow for meat, except when we tried to get some miniature Hereford meat from them for our restaurant a few years ago, it was all sold out, so we didn't have it. So it's obviously extremely delicious. As is their olive oil, which is this little one here we'll talk about in a minute. It's got a 3-hectare olive grove. It's got a 3-hectare vineyard. It's single site, and they've currently got Riesling, Pinot Noir, Chardonnay and Rosé, and a sweet Riesling as well. It's all hand pruned and hand picked, no insecticides. They use nature's predator bugs. Hi, Astrid. You've joined in just when I thought I might tell a little story, because people seem to like the stories. So I'll tell you, if I may, I'll tell you a little story about Astrid. Now, the Walter family bought Boomer Creek in 1969. It's a bit south of Freycinet or Swansea, and we're currently on the 3rd generation. So that's Astrid and her brother. Now, Astrid, I first met when we were back in Swansea. We just sold the left bank. We talked about setting that up last week, I think. And I got myself a little bit of a job at the Barrel, which was a little cellar door that Springvale had set up, but it was also a bottle shop. I never had any idea.
Subi, not to age anyone too much here, but it must be going on 14, 15 years ago.
Yes, indeed. And back in those days, Astrid was a very young woman. I think, Astrid, correct me if I'm wrong, but you might have been 17 or 18 at the time. Anyway, I'll never forget. We had a great time working together, and I had a lot of respect for her. But she went off on a Contiki tour. So I thought, oh, she's just one of those young
As you
things.
do when you're young.
Yeah, doing the international pub crawl. Well, I couldn't have been more wrong, because the Astrid that we know today is the driving force behind the vineyard.
Yes.
And so on one hand, I've got the young Astrid going off on the Contiki tour. On the other hand, I've got arriving at Boomer Creek last year to check in with them, and being directed by Colin, Dad, to go to the vineyard. You know, it's down there and get out and then walk. So I hit the vineyard, 3 hectares of it, walking along row after row after row, looking for Astrid. And sure enough, like, I don't know, 500 metres in, I look down the row. There's Astrid with her secateurs amongst thousands of grapevines, pruning them. And so I went up there and we had a bit of a chat, and honestly, like a pig in whatever, absolutely enamoured with being a viticulturalist, sensational views of Schouten Island, just happy as. So she said to Colin and Joy, look, we could diversify the farm. I think we could add some grapevines. And she'd done a bit of work at Springvale, so seemed like a good idea. Colin and Joy one day delivered some wine and some olive oil to us and said, now, Astrid did have that idea, but she didn't tell us we'd be doing all the work. Now, it's clearly not true, because I've seen Astrid in there on her own, happy as pruning those thousands of vines. It's a real family affair. So I think we should perhaps get on to some wine, Helen.
Oh, just a couple of things. I was speaking with Astrid this afternoon, and just a couple of things that she told me. And we'll get onto the olive oil later when we do the olive oil. But the harvest this year, like a lot of the vineyards, it's been fairly small because of the unpredictable weather, but the quality is up. So we're looking forward to some really good 2020 vintage. They're still doing the Riesling, Chardonnay, Rosé and Pinot, but we're looking forward, and they haven't been planted yet, but we're looking forward to, she really wants to plant out some, probably some Shiraz and Tempranillo. So that's sort of the next project on the horizon for Astrid and Boomer Creek. But in the meanwhile, we're very excited because we are going to hold our breath for a spring release of a Riesling Sparkling from Boomer Creek, which is made in a traditional way where it sits on lees and is turned in the bottle, etc. So just getting bigger, better, and more exciting and more fabulous with Astrid and Boomer. The two wines that we're tasting tonight, it's the Riesling 2016 and the Pinot Noir 2016. They were both made by Dioldis of Hurly Burley fame, which we talked about last week?
Yeah, it was last week. Yeah.
So Dioldis made the 2016 vintages of both of these. But from the 2017 vintage onwards of Boomer Creek wines, they're being made at Springvale, which is where Astrid probably spends most of her time, apart from when she's at the vineyard. Her day job, if you like, is working at Springvale Wines. What that means for her is that she gets to sort of dabble in, play with, and keep a really close eye on the making of the Boomer Creek wines, and she's a bit excited about that. And down the track, if she can ever find a little bit of spare time, she'd really like to go right into actual winemaking. She's not sure how she can fit that into her life, but that would be something that she'd like to do in the future. So that's just a little bit about Astrid and what's happening at the moment.
She's a fantastically confident young woman that achieves whatever she sets out to do. So
absolutely,
with Joy and Colin and brother around her and behind her, what a great family
and
operation.
Yep. So all right, let's have a little bit of Riesling.
Well,
so
I'll put look at that.
We'll put our two backward labels ahead.
So.
Sorry, Astrid, we know that the labels are back to front or a mirror image for you, but
it's the price that we have to pay. But the reason I'm holding it like this, of course, is that that's a kangaroo, and it's in Boomer Creek Road. And Boomer, of course, is Australian slang for kangaroos, like 6 white boomers, no white boomers in the song that Rolf Harris.
Oh, we haven't heard you singing yet in this whole virtual tasting, Subi. That was great.
Oh, well, we've got 14 weeks.
We need to do a few performances.
Anyway, so it was named after the sound that the big male kangaroos make as they leap across the fields. So I'm about to sip the Riesling. Oh, yes. I know there's a stunning new cellar door facility that just opened last weekend, and we're certainly planning to get down there as soon as we can and give it more than a mention here.
And I guess the thing about the cellar door, I was speaking to Astrid about that too, and she says it's it's only just opened in the last couple of weeks. It's a brand new purpose-built building on the vineyard, and they're opening Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday from about 1:00. And then Saturday and Sunday with some platters available to have with both tastings and just glasses of wine or bottles of wine, and it's been going really well. Going gangbusters, one might say.
I think when I was down there last year, brother was meant to be putting on the roof. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's done now and ready to go. So if anyone wants to visit Boomer Creek Cellar Door, the weekend is the way to go.
Absolutely. A few of them are opening at weekends, gradually easing back into it. So I'm getting aromas of citrus blossom.
Citrus blossom? Explain that to me, Subi.
Well, it's what I read. It's got a refreshingly zesty palate of lemon and lime. And I really
It has got lemon and lime. I agree with you. I've got it.
Thanks, Astrid.
I really like that citrusy base of the flavour in the Riesling, because it's probably a bit late in the day for me to be appreciating a Riesling, but I do like that on a weekend when I'm not working or doing anything else, of course, when I'm relaxing in the sun on a weekend, to
Hot
have a glass of that chilled Riesling is just divine for me. I really like the citrusy, refreshing vibrancy of it.
It's got some body, hasn't it? It's got good texture, I think.
Well, it's interesting because I remember when we first started doing this in the farm shed, and we're going on 3 years now, 3.5 years, that we used to always call it a really young Riesling. Of course, we're now 3 years down the track, so it's no longer a really young Riesling. It's 2016 Riesling.
The vines are still young because the vines
at
Boomer Creek were planted in 12-13.
Of course.
This was the first vintage.
Yeah.
First vintage.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, I've been really enjoying that. For people that have been hooking into us over the last few weeks, you would have been really interested in all my flavours and nibbles that I've been having with wine, from Vegemite biscuits to plastic cheese to, some more fancy stuff. But I'm afraid tonight I can't regale you with any stories about the nibbles I've got, because I haven't got any, because my father and my brother and I are about to go out to a French restaurant in this little town called Belnary for dinner. And my brother is about to fly back to England tomorrow, so it's a bit of a farewell dinner for him. Just a little bit of information.
A refreshingly acid backbone. That's right.
Okay. Yeah.
So this wine, it's great length, so it really sticks around. You can enjoy it now, or you can cellar it for 7 to 10 years. Now, we mentioned olive oil.
I'm enjoying it now.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it now. Look at what I've got.
Oh, nice.
So we have 3 vineyards on the East Coast where they grow olives as well. Now, they're not table olives. They're olives for olive oil. All of the olive oils that I have tonight to taste are award-winning olive oils. It's like, the big Shirazes and the table olive oils come from the really hot climates. Mind you, I was reading about the impact of climate change on the wine industry Australia-wide in the next 40 years, and so we might be having olives for the table in 20 years.
It's changing both the grape varieties and the olives that are going to be growing in Tasmania. Yeah.
So a couple of weeks ago, we did 6 friends. I've got a little bit of their olive oil here, and I'm going to dunk some absolutely stunning bread from Pigeonhole. They call it the hospitality industry, and it's great with the customers, but the people behind Pigeonhole we've known since they opened Pigeonhole Cafe in West Hobart many years ago, and the camaraderie and the support that you get from your peers in the hospitality industry, sensational. So beautiful pigeonhole bread.
So what colour is the olive oil, Subi?
Well, it's they're all.
Is it a yellow or a green? Green.
No, it's kind of a greenish, but the viscosity is quite different.
Yeah, right. Oh, that's interesting.
I'm going to just dunk it in a bit of balsamic as well.
Oh, okay.
And I am showcasing Tasmanian product in my little nibbles. However, you just can't go past an Italian aged balsamic.
My favourite from the Italian pantry. Yeah, excellent.
Yum.
So you've got the Six Friends olive oil, you've got the Boomer Creek olive oil, and the Freycinet olive oil.
Six Friends, Boomer Creek.
Yeah.
So.
And the Freycinet, have you got?
This one's
that's
the
Boomer Creek.
Yep. Beautiful olive oil. So let's have a little taste of that. I've got some rock salt here. I was hoping I still had some Tasman sea salt in the cupboard because that's another fantastic East Coast product.
Yep.
But I've had to go just with your basic rock salt.
We need to get some, we might have some Tasman sea salt for next week then. Yeah.
So quite
just while you're tasting olive oil, speaking to Astrid, we were just talking about the harvesting of the olives, and usually olive harvesting happens around about now. It's usually around June. But this year and what happens with the olives is that they tend to harvest every second year, because every second year they just don't seem to fruit. So we've
had two olive trees for about 5 years, and I've never seen any fruit on them at all. So we're obviously doing something wrong.
Well, we'll just stick to the farm shed and not to olive harvesting then.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
So they didn't do an olive harvest this year because, even though they were meant to, because the crop was really down. They had there was a really hot wind there on the East Coast. I don't know whether I'm here or there. There on the East Coast, just towards the end of last year, and what it did is it totally wiped out the olive flowers.
Oh, really?
So there were no flowers that then lead to fruiting, so they didn't get a harvest of olive.
That was a problem with the late or early flowering grapevines.
Yeah.
Some of the varieties, that's why the yield was down, whereas some of the later flowering grape varieties had a full bounty. Yeah. I'm just going to quickly have a little bit of this Freycinet olive oil. Finish a little tasting. I'm not going to talk about it though. I'm going to talk more about that when we do Freycinet Vineyard in a few weeks' time. Yeah.
Okay. So what about how did the Boomer Creek olive oil compare to the Six Friends? What were the differences?
Oh, it's interesting. I reckon densest, grassiest.
Is that Six Friends?
Yeah. Boomer Creek, kind of in the middle, nutty.
Yeah. Right. Nice.
And the Freycinet lighter.
Okay.
But
so dense. So Six Friends, denser, grassier. Yeah. Right. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Good.
Not that I know anything about tasting olive oil. I want you to know that right now. And I don't know anything about tasting Pinot Noir either.
No, but we better get onto the Pinot Noir.
I think we should, because it's right here. Now, this one's it spent 9 months maturing in French oak. It presents an aromatic quince jelly nose integrated with elegant tannins and a well-rounded palette of dark cherry and savoury spice. It's a real aromatic jigsaw. This is what people say.
Jigsaw.
Yeah. People who know a lot more than us, these are the things they say.
It's quite nice on the front. It's quite a light Pinot in colour.
It is. Now, it goes well with beef, veal or game, especially venison and poultry. But, you know, I think this one, incurable rosematic. It's funny. I really feel like a glass of Tassie wine now. Well, you should have one.
Give us a ring tomorrow.
Ship some to you.
Give us a ring tomorrow and it can be in the mail straight away.
Yep, 6 bottles, free postage anywhere in Australia. Check out our online shop to see what we've got available. We've got over 90 wines from all 22. Actually, probably 91 because I've just got a new one coming in. Did I tell you about that, Helen?
No, but that's okay. I'm here, you're there, so you get to make executive decisions.
So, yes, and it's like the old days when I was an individual rather than a brand.
Anna Woodrow, you should see us when we're actually in the same room together.
Anyway, it is a light one, but it's certainly one of those that goes well with seafood and with cuvee chocolate, which we've talked about before. Hello, cuvee chocolate. Lovely to have you join us. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to having both these wines with some fresh flathead tonight.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't take mine to the restaurant, but I'm going to finish this glass before we go to the restaurant to eat French food. I haven't been to this restaurant before, but apparently it's very good.
If I'm brutally honest, I don't know that I've said this before. I may have. I used to think, oh, light Pinots, raspberry cordial, why bother? But my goodness, you just can't have those sorts of attitudes, because this is certainly one of the sensational light ones that are so Moorish. It's versatile.
It's got real flavour there, hasn't it? I mean, and it stays around, and it's a pleasant taste.
Yeah, and reasonably full in the mouth. Is that the elegant tannins, perhaps?
The elegant tannins, as opposed to non-elegant tannins.
Yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much it for us. Pretty much it for us tonight. But I just want to take a moment to say a real thank you. We really appreciate you wonderful people who join us live. But I also want to say a thank you to the 300 or so who also watch us once this goes up on Instagram and Facebook, because yeah, it's really encouraging. We're really enjoying doing this. We've got some sensational vineyards to go through yet. I think next week we stop at Liz Dillon and do their Sauv Blanc and Pinot.
Yep.
Excellent, Anna Woodrow. We look forward to having you in the farm shed or wherever. Yeah, so stick with us. Thank you so much for supporting our little foray into virtual tastings in this. Yeah. And, you know, like I said, we've currently got over 90 wines, and the range in the farm shed is growing all the time. So who knows, if you're into it and we're still having fun after the 20 weeks, we might just start again.
We might keep going.
There are always new vintages and new wines. We're going to have to taste that. We're going to have to taste that Riesling sparkling.
Oh yeah, I said to Astrid that because I've only had a well, I can't remember, but the last Riesling sparkling I had, I think I mentioned one other week, was from Moores Hill, and I loved it so much that that I'm really hanging out and looking forward to the spring release of the Boomer Creek Bicheno Riesling sparkling.
Now I think rosé is an interesting thing too. Most rosés are made from Pinot Noir grapes, but we've got one in the farm shed from Shiraz grapes, and I've just ordered one that's from Cab Sav grapes.
Oh,
so
interesting.
Who knows? After the 20 weeks, we just might do, you know, a rosé comparison or a sparkling.
Oh,
yeah, who knows? Who knows?
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully I'll actually be there by then.
I hope so too. Listen, Rhonda, you're right. Astrid is a legend. Here's to Astrid.
Here's to Astrid.
Colin
Thanks,
Joy,
Astrid.
and the brother whose name I can't quite remember right now.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for joining us.
Soon. Or thanks for joining us after tonight. Whenever you join us, it's great to have you.
Yeah,
Thank you so
absolutely.
much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Subi.
Bye, Helen.